Look, I am going to be honest with you right off the bat here. There is a 90% chance that you are going to yawn at least once during this video. In fact, just me saying the word yawn is probably making your jaw feel a little weird right now. Go ahead, get it out of your system. I will wait. Done. Great. Now, you clicked on this because you want to know why your face decides to open up like a baby bird asking for worms at the most inconvenient times. Maybe you are in a meeting, maybe you are on a date, or maybe you are just bored out of your mind listening to someone explain tax law. Society tells us it is rude, but your body literally does not care about social etiquette. It just wants to reset. We are going to dive into the actual science behind this. Not the old wives' tales you heard in kindergarten, because it turns out your brain is actually doing something pretty complex while you look like a tired hippo. Welcome to Think, Respiratory Physiology, and the Oxygen Myth. Let's get the biggest lie out of the way first because it drives me crazy. Everyone thinks you yawn because you are running out of oxygen. You have probably heard some gym teacher or well-meaning aunt tell you that your brain is suffocating and you need a big gulp of air to wake up. That is completely false. It is total nonsense. Scientists actually tested this years ago by hooking people up to machines and measuring their oxygen intake while they yawned. And guess what? Yawning does not actually increase your oxygen levels. If the oxygen theory were true, athletes would be yawning constantly while sprinting the 100-meter dash. But they do not. You do not see Olympic swimmers gaping their mouths open underwater because they need more air in their blood. So, if you think you are yawning because the room is stuffy, you are wrong. Your lungs are doing just fine. The reality is much more interesting and has almost nothing to do with breathing and everything to do with the computer inside your skull. Brain thermoregulation and cooling systems. Here is the money chapter, so pay attention. The leading theory right now, and the one that actually makes scientific sense, is called the brain cooling hypothesis. Think of your brain like a high-end gaming PC or a car engine. It is processing a massive amount of data every single second. It is regulating your heartbeat, processing vision, thinking about what you want for lunch, and remembering that embarrassing thing you did in 2008. All that processing generates heat. Your brain is a meat computer, and meat computers overheat. When your brain gets too hot, its processing speed slows down, and you start feeling groggy or mentally foggy. So, what does your body do? It triggers a yawn. When you yawn, you stretch your jaw muscles, which increases blood flow to your face and skull. At the same time, that deep inhalation brings cool air into your nasal and oral cavities. This cools down the blood in your head, which then cycles through your brain, lowering its temperature. You are literally radiator cooling your own skull. This is why you tend to yawn more when you are tired or sleep deprived. Your brain temperature naturally rises when you are exhausted, and your body is desperately trying to cool it down to keep you functioning. Circadian rhythms and sleep transitions. Now, you might be thinking, okay, if it is just a cooling fan, why do I do it right before bed or right when I wake up? This ties into your circadian rhythm. Your body has an internal clock that regulates your temperature throughout the day. Your body temperature is actually highest in the evening right before you sleep, and lowest right when you wake up. When you are about to sleep, your body needs to drop its temperature to enter a deep rest state. Yawning might be a mechanism to help facilitate that temperature drop, like venting heat before shutting down the system. Conversely, when you wake up, your brain is booting up from a cold start. Yawning stretches the muscles and forces blood flow, effectively revving the engine to get things moving. It is not just about being bored. It is about physiological state transitions. You are basically rebooting the operating system. It is also why you yawn when you are bored. When you are bored, your brain stimulation drops and your temperature can fluctuate. Your body yawns to perk you up and keep you alert, essentially slapping you in the face with cold air to say, hey, stay awake, something might eat us. Mirror neurons and contagious yawning. This is the part that creeps people out. Yawning is contagious. You know it, I know it. You probably yawned again just now. This is where psychology and neuroscience hold hands. The reason you yawn when you see someone else yawn, or even just read the word, is linked to something called mirror neurons in your frontal cortex. These are the same neurons that allow us to feel empathy. It is why you wince when you see someone get kicked in the shins. Your brain is simulating their experience. Evolutionarily speaking, this served a massive purpose for early humans. If one person in the tribe yawned to signal a transition like, "Hey, it is time to sleep," or "Hey, we need to be alert." The contagious yawn helped synchronize the group's behavior. It got everyone on the same page. Interestingly, studies have shown that people with higher levels of empathy are more susceptible to contagious yawning. Psychopaths, or people with very low empathy, are statistically less likely to catch a yawn. So, if you are sitting there stone-faced while everyone else is yawning, maybe take a look in the mirror. You might be a robot, evolutionary biology, and animal behavior. Humans are not special. Pretty much every vertebrate yawns. Dogs do it, cats do it, even fish and snakes do it. But they do it for different reasons, which helps us understand our own biology. For a lot of animals, yawning is a threat display. Baboons yawn to show off their massive canine teeth to rivals. It is a way of saying, "Look at these weapons in my mouth, do not mess with me." While we do not usually yawn to scare people, often unless you are trying to make a date go badly, on purpose, we still have that primitive hardware. In dogs, yawning is often a stress signal or a calming signal. If you hug a dog and it yawns, it is not sleepy. It is telling you it feels awkward and wants you to stop. For us humans, the evolutionary baggage is still there. We might have repurposed the mechanism for brain cooling and social signaling, but the root action is ancient. It is buried deep in the brainstem, which is the oldest part of the brain. That is why even babies in the womb yawn. They are not bored, they are just testing the equipment. Pathological yawning and health indicators. Alright, let's get a little medical for a second, just so you get the full picture. While yawning is usually just your brain venting heat, or your mirror neurons firing, excessive yawning can actually be a symptom of something else. I am not trying to turn into WebMD here and tell you that you are dying, but if you are yawning constantly and you are not tired, it is called a vasovagal reaction. It can be linked to heart issues, neurological disorders, or even side effects from medications like antidepressants. It all comes back to that vagus nerve, which runs from your brain down to your gut. When that nerve gets stimulated too much, it can trigger excessive yawning. It is also common in people with migraines. Many migraine sufferers report yawning repetitively right before a headache hits. It is likely the brain trying to regulate the vascular changes happening before the pain starts. So, if you are yawning every 30 seconds and you've got plenty of sleep, maybe your body is trying to tell you something is glitching under the hood. Cortisol levels and stress management. Finally, let's talk about stress. You yawn when you are anxious. Have you ever noticed that you are waiting for a job interview or about to jump out of a plane, and suddenly you need to yawn? That seems counterintuitive, right? You should be amped up, not sleepy. But remember the brain cooling thing? Stress shoots your cortisol levels up and increases your brain temperature. Your brain starts running hot because it is in fight or flight mode. The yawn is a countermeasure. It is your body attempting to cool down the executive function centers of the brain so you can make rational decisions instead of just screaming and running away. It is a biological attempt at keeping you cool under pressure. So next time you see an athlete yawning in the locker room before the big game, they are not bored. Their brain is just trying to make sure they do not overheat before the whistle blows. It is a performance hack built into your biology. So there you have it. You are not rude and you are not necessarily bored. You are just a complex biological machine trying to keep your processor from overheating while socially synchronizing with the other meat computers around you. If you manage to get through this entire video without yawning, congratulations, you might be a psychopath. Or maybe you just have a really efficient radiator in your skull. Either way, if you learned something new, or if I made you yawn, do me a favor. Hit the like button because it helps the algorithm, and subscribe for more stuff that makes you smarter while you procrastinate. This is Think. Go take a nap.